I want to introduce again Samantha Tan, who is the writer, director, and the main star of our feature showing. She's here tonight, and we would love to just have the opportunity to talk to her about her freaking dope film and her wonderful acting and her amazing crew and cast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys so much. I loved watching your faces as you were watching that. And now everyone knows what my butt looks like, which is okay.
Some things just can't be hidden from the public, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wrote and directed it, so I have nobody else to blame but myself.
I feel like so much of it was so relatable to me. Like first off, like everything down to even the parking lot. You know what I mean? Because like growing up in San Jose, just in the Bay in general, anywhere like LA, you go into parking lots all the time. You spend a lot of your time parking, right?
Yeah.
And 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 more often than not, there's like nobody around in those parking lots, so you can have those moments to yourself. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it in the previous session with Wiz and Kim, that the scene actually came about because I didn't have the budget to really go to other locations. But it ended up, just tying together so beautifully. So that is my actual basement car park, like parking lot downstairs. The whole thing is, shot here. In reality, this is the couch where he was sitting, and kitchen's over there and all that stuff. So yeah, real elevator, real hallway. Really, because I just had no freaking money is what it was. Yeah.
I thought that was really ingenious, actually. The just even before you told me like, oh, I don't have money to do all these locations and stuff, just the efficiency of it, I really respect. You know what I mean? It's like all in the same building. Like how many scenes was it? It was two locations, right? Or maybe three, counting outside the apartment, right?
Counting the hallway, yeah,
Yeah,
three.
the hallway.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad, as I said the last time, that I didn't have money, because you get creative when you have limitations, and in the end, what matters is her, and what matters is her struggle and her emotional journey and everything she's trying to do. And I care more about the human in the center of the story than I do about the flash and the bang and the spectacle, right? So yeah, it was a good opportunity to do that. And I come from a theater background as well. So I like to rehearse everything and stage everything almost like in a black box theater. In the end, you want to know what's happening between the two people on stage. It's not really about the set. So yeah, it was serendipitous, I guess.
That is music to my ears because I feel like that kind of writing is very, very poignant. You know what I mean? When you go back to the theater, it's very focus driven. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, one thing I did want to ask you about the beginning, even though, I mean, maybe you'd just be spelling everything out for us, but what was the main underlying place, emotion that you pulled from for that first scene where, like, at first you're thinking like, why is she so mad, right? Why is she like 0 to 100 right away? But then it slowly starts to reveal these layers. Like there's the interracial layer, there's the whole business layer, there's all this stuff, and I'm sure there's more. But what were you thinking about when you were pulling from all that?
You're talking about the entire first section
Yeah.
from the kitchen onwards. Well, it's very close to home for sure. My parents were actually visiting one day when I had a catering job that was taking place in the middle of the night. That was a film shoot that was happening overnight, and so but the difference was she wasn't in Malaysia on Skype. She was present in LA. And the minute they heard I got the job, I got an entire lecture about how I should turn down the job because why? You're a girl. Don't drive so late at night. It's dangerous and blah, blah, blah. And in the end, my mom was telling my dad, like, hey, you chaperone her lah, and it was just like, what? Like, I don't need a chaperone. What are you talking about? So that came from a very personal place of feeling like my parents constantly underestimate me, you know, and I guess that's just something Asian kids will feel perpetually, you know,
Absolutely.
you're 12 years old to them, no matter how old you are. And no matter, and you know, and I've lived a lot of lives. I've lived in 3 countries and I've been independent that whole time. Like, and you're coming here and telling me that I need my dad in the car with me to deliver some, how dare you, you know, but you can't really say it in such a rude way, and then you have to like manage their feelings. And so all of that came from a very personal place, my feelings about my parents. And I know that, and this time my mom is not in this chat. But you know, it's I know it comes from love, you know, I know it's from concern for me, and so it's so hard to be mad at them as well. So that's where that dynamic with the mom came from. 95% of the stuff she says in that call, my real mother has said that to me. My forehead's too high, you know, my arms are too fat, and my cheekbones are jutting out, and it's just like, it's real, that's real. So that's where the mother thing comes from. As with the relationship with Lakeith, I constantly feel, I'm currently not in a relationship, but I was in a very, very, very long-term one for a long time, and it was interracial. And there is a constant need to prove to them that I made the right choice, you know, and not to worry about me and all of that. And I feel like I'm always trying to wrestle with the American part of me. Like, I wasn't born and raised here, but a lot of me is very American. And so who I am now with who I used to be is a constant juggling act. And I thought that the most evocative way of talking about that cultural conflict, instead of having like someone stand there and say, I have cultural conflict, look at my struggle. Like, it's just way more evocative to do it visually, which is why I ended up writing a scene where she's literally wedged between her mother on Skype and a man on his knees. You know, like, that tells you everything you need to know about what this girl is torn between. Yeah, figuratively and literally, just, you know. So that's where that whole beginning came from. It definitely was from a personal place. The IKEA bags are real. I'm not even kidding. I mean, when I cater from my house, which that's the kind of chef I am, I'm a home chef. And I'm better now with organizing, you know, and I've never served anyone cum rice. At least I've never told anyone I've served them cum rice. But it's a feat to cook so much food in an apartment, you know. And in my earlier days, like, I really cut it close a lot of times. I never quite failed in such a big way. But I wrote that from sort of my nightmare scenario. You know, I always feel that there's no backup, that when you're cooking is stressful. Cooking is a time sensitive thing. People are hungry and then they get angry if they're not fed, and it's just a whole. And then if you're delivering it yourself, you have to then drive the thing there and make sure it doesn't move in your car. Like, it's a whole thing. So I wrote that rice scene from the perspective of what is my worst nightmare, to like have spent an entire day cooking this food, and then right at the end, you know, it tips over. Or like, and I think about all those cooking shows, the reality shows, like those big baking stuff where they make these ambitious towers of cakes or whatever, and then they have to carry it gingerly like to the judging table, you know. And it's always like, why do you make them do that? Like, because of that, because at the very last minute the stakes are so high, you know. So yeah, very personal. The IKEA bags is how I carry food. It is. I mean, the IKEA bags are great. They're great for everything, for laundry, for food. And I have been locked out before, not quite in the same way. I have had my elevator break down. So it really came from, I knew that the film had to be a certain length. I knew I wanted the circumstances to just keep piling and piling and piling. And for you to just feel like, my God, this girl has done everything she can. Although not really. She could also have said, let's not have sex now, you know? But yeah. So that whole beginning, yeah, is drawn, I would say, 95% directly from real life. Yeah,
Wow,
except for the
that is amazing. Like down to your reaction too. Like, oh, that's some real anger. You know what I mean? Like I have a weird relationship with like anger in my life. I like let my stuff out a different way, you know what I mean? But because my growing up in my household, we are all very soft spoken and everybody was a
Mm,
very gentle person. But when it comes to like real anger, real seething anger, like it's so cathartic to see somebody like this. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, that's
yeah,
the
and the truth is, in real life, and I said this the last time too, I'm actually the one that leaves my phone on silent. I'm really bad with that. And I think that comes from, a theater background. You never want your phone to go off in rehearsal or in a show and in class or whatever. So it's perpetually on silent. And I used to get a lot of shit for that. Like, come on, like, what if I was dying in a puddle and whatever. So that came from me doing that to other people. Um, yeah, and I saw someone in the chat. I mean, I loved it. I was watching the faces and reading the chat as you guys were watching. And one of the questions was how many trays of rice was sacrificed. Only one. We did it in one take. So
wow.
yeah, so we worked out, well, partially because I only could afford to shoot in one day. So there just was not any time to reset or anything. But I did, like I got the production designer girl to stand by with like a trash bag in case we needed to gather it all up or something. And initially I wrote the dish as a curry, which is a terrible idea because that cleanup would have been really hard. So I changed it to rice because at least it was dry. And the shot of Lakeith's arm hitting it, there's actually two crew like under the tray to like jiggle it as he hits it. So it doesn't fall when he hits it. He just has to like aim for it and then they move it as if it's falling. So, and then we cut to like the DP sat in front of the door on the floor with her camera. And I was like, everybody move, like don't breathe, like just get out of the frame, don't breathe. And then I was the one behind the kitchen counter holding the tray like this. And I was like, is everyone ready? And everyone was just holding their breath. And the DP's like, okay, and action. And I just went, and that was the take that you saw. So
Yeah.
it ended up working. It landed perfectly. And we were like, do we need another one? But we were running out of time because by that point I was like 3-4 hours behind schedule, because cooking takes a long time, like all these things. So we decided not to reset. We were like, you know what, we got it. Like, and what's more important is their scene after that, like the dialogue and the gathering of the rice and all. And I have to say, my editor is here and I want to embarrass her and give her a shout out.
Please
I'm just
do.
making faces now. That's Yin Lui. She's waving. Everybody give her a huge round of applause because Yin is a freaking genius. Seriously, she really, really is. She did such an amazing job with all the footage, cutting it together. Because, yeah, like I wrote the script, but the DP's the one that brought the script to life visually, and Yin's the one that rewrote it in the end in the edit room. So there's like 3 of us wrote it together, I would say. But yes, Yin is amazing. Everybody hire her, FYI. So.
Yeah, the cuts really carried so much of that sort of aggressive energy, the sort of the panic and the timing and the pacing was so good. So I agree. She really killed it on that.
Yay!
I also wanted to ask, let me see. I'm not even looking at any of these questions
How
here.
long did it take
Let me see.
to shoot?
Oh, somebody's asking how long it took you to shoot the entire thing.
1 day.
Yeah, that's amazing too.
1
And
day.
for how good it came out too, that's amazing.
Yeah, I have to say though, it's not like I just thought of it and then did it the next day. There were 3 months of pre-production leading up to the 1 day. And again, because of the talent and the generosity of my DP, her name is, someone's asking for your contact, Yin. I'm gonna put it in. It's yinlui.com. She's so great. And my DP, I'm gonna tell everybody her name, which is Suzanne Aguirre. I don't think she's online right now. So Suzanne is Filipino American, and I sent her the script. Oh, whoops! I sent that to anonymous privately. Sorry. Let me do that again.
I'm
Suzanne.
sure they'll enjoy it.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, she's a Filipino American DP. I found her through like a friend on Facebook recommended her. So I watched her reel and I was like, oh, she's awesome. And then we met up for coffee and I told her up front, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never directed. This is my first script. I have never touched a camera. I can't tell you what a C-stand is. Like, I don't know anything, you know? And so I need somebody that does know everything, who is patient and like willing to basically hold my hand like a little baby, like through the entire process. So she loved the script and was down from the beginning. She loved the first version even, you know, so the first version, for those of you who weren't here in the last thing, the first version had Allie leave the building and end up somewhere delivering the food, and she succeeds, and then her car gets towed, and then there's a homeless guy, and then there's a like cat caller, and then she has like a breakdown in the middle of a street, and like all this crap happens. And Zane was down to do even that version, but she eventually talked me through the process and told me it would take 2.5 to 3 days. So she helped me break down the budget. Like I was like, what crew do I need? You know, and she's like, okay, essential crew are, you know, like you need an assistant camera, you have to find a good editor, you need a sound person. Like I just didn't know shit. And then she's like, here are places you can rent equipment from. And so she shot the whole thing on her own Canon 5D. And she was just like, I'm not gonna charge you rental for my Canon 5D, I'm just gonna do it. And so the 3 months leading up to it was just her willing to just teach me, you know? And she's like, we're gonna do a shot list. And I'm like, what's a shot list? And she's like, it's where we break down the shots, you know? And like, this is an over the shoulder shot. This is a blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we walk through everything. And I feel like everything in my life has led up to me being able to make this film. The chef part, you know, I trained as an actor. I went to theater school. And I used to be a professional dancer before that. So the sex scene too is really choreography. The entire thing was choreographed to a T. We blocked it, we rehearsed it. We also rehearsed it with Zane to know when things needed to look naked and when you would actually be fully clothed and things like that. And yeah, rehearsing with like figuring out like modesty gear, which I didn't know what to do on that front. So I asked some wardrobe friends to give me advice, and they said, oh, you can DIY this stuff, you know, or like buy the guy a tanning sock or what do you call it, a tanning pouch or whatever, you know, and for the girl, you have to like DIY a piece of fabric with like double-sided tape. I mean, it's very technical. So the choreography was very important to me because we didn't actually know each other that well leading up to this film. We did one commercial together before, and I knew that the camera would capture everything in your eyes. And if you have two people doing a sex scene and it's blatantly obvious that they've never touched each other, and it's like, oh my God, it's painful to watch, like awkward sex scenes. So it was really important to me to achieve trust and comfort, and for both of us to feel okay, you know? I mean, I felt weird because I was like the writer and the director, and it was my house, and like, you know, like, hey guy, like, do you want to come over and like do this really graphic scene or you eat me out? Like, so I was very careful with how I approached him, and I did say, you know, like, this is why the scene is there, and all that stuff, and he was super cool, actually. Yeah, and partly, and I told the whole crew as well, like, it's partly why I had an all-female crew, so that I wouldn't feel weird, that, you know, we're all gonna be respectful, we're all gonna have a great sense of humor about all of this, and make sure we rehearse in advance so that on our one shoot day, there's no time to find the chemistry in the one day. You have to have it already. So by the time we filmed that scene, we had rehearsed it like a play. It was like, mommy says, blah, 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 church, something, something, which is when you kneel. And then like, mommy will say, you'll always be our little girl, which is where you like kiss the butt, like, so everything was rehearsed like a play. And Zane just had to move around us like that with her little handheld. Yeah, so one camera, one day, man, that's the first time I've watched it in a while, and I'm really proud actually of what we've achieved.
I would be too. Wow. That's a lot to unpack with all the stuff that you said, honestly. Like going all the way back from like just the happenstance of meeting this person who would lift you up and boost you with her knowledge and like, be very generous with her time and skill and all that stuff. Just the way you described it, everybody was such a professional. And I so respect the process, like going to school for the arts myself, and just the amount of dedication and care and attention to detail really, really, really came together. Kat was asking a question in the chat and also in Slack, actually. She was really interested in the sex scene. And she was wondering, like, what is the actual movie magic behind that? Like the modesty stuff and this and that, the things you were talking
Yeah,
about?
I get a lot of questions about the sex scene, as you may imagine. Like
Uh-huh.
I had several friends watch it and were like, that looks too fucking real, man. What the hell? Like that looks real. And I'm like, it wasn't. It was movie magic. Um, Modesty gear for sure, and angles. And you you do have to be comfortable with each other, because so there's no way to fake like where his face is, like his face has to be there, right? But you don't have to see what he's doing with his mouth, right? So he's just positioning his face and then moving it in such a way against the inside of my thigh or something, to make it look like that. And then separately, the sound girl, I found this so hilarious. The sound girl was like, we need the sound of like the licking. And I was like, oh, does he have to like lick my leg? And she's like, no, he can just lick his arm. So he literally licked his arm and she recorded it. And
That's
that's
amazing.
movie magic. Yeah, and you only see, you see both our butts at some point, but for the majority of the scene where it's our faces or our backs, like we're fully clothed, we're wearing pants, Yeah, so editing, Yin and I, we definitely, I always feel bad because Yin had to stare at my ass and at Ikena's ass for so long. And we talked about it at length because I mean, it is a little bit long, right? The sex scene. But to me, it was really important to be realistic with it. Like, I get super annoyed at sex scenes that focus only on the guy or, on the guy's pleasure. And also sex scenes that cop out, like they kind of like zoom away to like the fan or whatever. And I'm like, no, let's give the people what they want,
Oh
So,
yeah. Like
yeah,
the old lights dim and that's it.
yeah, and then they wake up the next day, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
no. And for me it didn't make sense. Like I needed the rice scene to feel organic. Like the rice has to come out of nowhere, and for that rhythm to build up to that, you can't start there. You can't be like, okay, we're having sex and then it's at 100. So it had to build slowly. And so to me, the sex scene has two parts. It has Allie on the counter, which is about her, and so it's a little slower, it's a little more focused on like their hands and their face and and she gets to come first, and then she says your turn, which is where then it's part two, which goes to the rice. So we definitely spent quite a bit of time on the sex scene in the edit room. I remember like talking about like, is this necessary? Is that necessary? Like, which shot should we look at here? And I remember we talked about like the different takes of Allie, like her orgasm. I remember Yin going like, that was kind of fakey. We'll use that one. Like that one's raw, that one's real, that one was like, you know? So I definitely owe it to the team, you know, and that's kind of why I made it a point to meet everyone for coffee first, because although it's just a small film, you know, it meant a lot to me and I had a lot riding on it. I feel like you only have one chance to do your first project. And it's so personal, you know, that I didn't want to have a team that didn't gel or that expected me to be more experienced than I was. So same as Zane being so generous with her time, Yin was so generous with her time, you know, and I think you took 6 weeks, right, to cut it? About 6 weeks? Yeah, she refuses to unmute herself.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me now?
Hi, yeah.
Hi. No, it took around, a little bit over a month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
for the editing.
5 to 6 weeks, and it just involved like you cut in your house, right? And
yeah, I just cut in my home system at home, so I probably saw this movie probably as much as Sam, if not more.
yeah, a lot of times. And then she would send me cuts on Google Drive or something, or like every 2 weeks. You know, back when you could actually go to people's houses.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I would go over and we'd watch it together and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, it was definitely teamwork.
Wow, much respect, definitely much respect for the editing process, for the entire team, you know? Kat was also asking another big hitting question, which I think everybody in the biz gets. Any tips or advice for anyone who is interested in starting their career in showbiz and short films? Yeah, that's a big one, I know, and it's not an easy answer either.
My tip is to make your own work, which, I mean, this is as great a time as any to say that. And I mean, I say that as someone who made this film because I was so frustrated as a new actress in LA. You know, I did all the right things, quote unquote. You know, I went and got a master's in acting. I trained for 3 years in theater. I came to LA like, I'm so trained. Like, everybody should just hire me because I'm like talented. But that's just not how it works, you know? And actors have no agency, you know, like you're so reliant on other people giving you work. And if you think about it logically, nobody is sitting in a room thinking to themselves, like, how do I devote my life to making Samantha Tan's dreams come true? You know, like nobody's doing that. They're busy making their own dreams come true. So you really have to take charge of it. And the amount of doors that this film has opened for me, I think is proof that this is really the only way. Not just because, you know, it gives you a chance to act or whatever, but because it shows that you are more than that you are actually intelligent, you're creative. Because there's so many other skills. I mean, I'm not saying everybody has to, you know, wear 5 hats kind of thing, but the amount of people who say they want to do their own work but don't. Like Zane actually told me when the film finished, you know, being edited, she was like, I've done so many short films and this is the first one that has been actually completed, you know. And then after it's completed, you also have to go through the distribution process, which like for me was figuring out how to get it on Amazon and stuff like that. So making your own work, I think, demonstrates that you are a resourceful human being and you're not needy. You're not sitting around waiting for somebody else to do you a favor, you know? And it made me a better actor, definitely. Like the goal for me was just to give myself a meaty role at first. But then I realized like, whoa, like I have so much more respect for the amount of work that goes into the film. Like the actors are really the last tiny little part of the puzzle. They walk in after everybody has done their work and it's like, you better deliver, please deliver, you know, like after all the lighting and all the stuff that's gone on, please don't be a diva. Please just know your lines, you know, please have done your emotional work beforehand and deliver because everything hinges on you, yeah, so it put everything in perspective for me, actually, like making my own work. And now I feel like, ooh, I did that, you know, like, and that's the thing, like, I didn't know how to do it. I think that's the most important advice I can give. Just because you don't know how to do it now doesn't mean you can't learn how to do it. And there are so many talented people out there dying for an opportunity to collaborate with you. So it's your job to give them a story or a script that is inspiring enough that makes them like willing to work with you for very little money or whatever. And you know, don't be an asshole. Like, just, it's so fun. I mean, I had such a blast making this film. I loved it so much, and which I'm sure you can tell from the blooper reel. Yeah, and I hope that it opens up doors for the team too, like not just me. Yeah. So that's my advice. Make your own work. Don't be an asshole. Find other talented people to teach you what you don't know.
Yep, you heard it here from Samantha Tan. If you want to succeed, don't be an asshole. I mean, honestly, though, what you said about the success of the film and your crew is really profound to me, because it really was like who you are as a person. Like, success is not a state of being. Success is who you are and
Yeah.
what you do with yourself in every single moment leading up to what you would call success. You know what I mean? Success is really just based on what you think, and if you're in society's eye, then also like what the community thinks as well, right?
Yeah.
But thank you. Yeah, that was a really great answer for that.
And I've realized too, because I've met a bunch of, you know, successful people who say it actually doesn't end. You know, you hit a bar of success, and people who are new like us, you know, feel like, oh, if I booked that thing, I would have arrived and I would now feel peace and I would now feel I'm successful. But it never ends. You can win that, you know, Oscar and then struggle to prove that you're not a one-hit wonder after the Oscar. There are many Oscar winners we've forgotten about, you know, and yeah, and the A-listers are out there making their own stuff. So who are we to expect that things will just land in our lap? You know, I mean, if you look at like Big Little Lies and all that stuff, like if the A-listers, you know, if the Nicole Kidmans and Reese Witherspoons of this world have to go out and make their own content, like take a note from that, you know, it is never going to end. So,
Yeah,
and it's
and
fun. It's so fun to make your own content.
it's actually the most fun to do what is you, right? Not
Yeah.
to be under somebody else's pen or dollar or anything like that. And then also where the money comes from too. Like, you don't want to be under the control of somebody who has a different agenda and not some, you know? Jen actually had a question. How difficult was it to get on Amazon, and was there a long process for that specifically?
Yes. So I was lucky that I filmed the film in 2018, yeah. And then in June of 2019, Amazon had their first short film festival. So it was the Amazon All Voices Festival. And they were, for the first time, I think, looking for shorts. So it is a technical process to apply. You actually go, and even without the festival, like anybody who wants to put their stuff on Amazon, you have to go through the Prime Video Direct platform. And you have to have key art that meets their specifications. It's a whole, you have to be willing to read all the little like fine print to tell you like, we need a 3x4 and a 16:9 of a poster and blah, 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 blah. And then your sound thing and your captions thing and your, like, it's just, but it's all there. The information is there. You just have to be patient and willing to read it and then go do it. So I found a captions company. Again, like everything leading up to this film, did not know anything. Google it. You know, whatever you don't know, just Google the shit out of it and ask people, like, you know, and so figured it out. The file, the captions, the key art. So I got a poster designer actually to design the poster. And about the poster, initially we didn't have one, and then I realized like I need a thing to like post on Instagram, or I need a thing to represent the film. And we talked about what represents like the essence of the film. And initially we were like, oh, maybe the rice on the floor represents the film. But for me, I started scrolling through Netflix or through Amazon to kind of see what posters catch my eye. And inevitably it was the one with a face on it. You know, it was like a person's face, like looking directly at you. And like I said, I made this film for to be an acting platform for myself. So part of what I wanted to prove to myself is that I deserve to be on a poster. You know, I deserve to be the only person on a poster, and I should be able to carry the film and make you want to watch it based on my face on the poster. So I was like, you know what? It's called Ali Chia, so Ali should be on the poster. Like, what the hell am I even, why am I even thinking about rice on the ground? Who gives a shit about that? It's about her, you know? And so then I thought, where should she stand? You know, things like that. And I was like, her world is the kitchen, you know? And so that's my real kitchen. So I pulled out all the Malaysian things and put them in the background. And I was like, what should be in the tray? So actually, like, I think I asked Yin, like, what do you think should be in the tray? Maybe it should be the fried chicken, da da da. And Yin was like, well, the fried chicken's like really brown and it doesn't look like, so we had a whole like, what should be in the tray discussion. And then I was like, you know what, I'll do the rice. Yeah, so then we have the rice, it's just not on the ground, you know? And so that happened, and I hit up Zane a month after, I think the film was almost done. And I hit up Zane, because we had actually to do, so we shot it in one day, but we had a couple hours of pickups a month after, because there were certain things missing from the ending, like my hand pulling the car trunk, things like that, like, which I didn't know you need coverage of stuff like that, you know, or like we only took one take of me like texting mom, and there was nothing else to cut to, and it was so draggy, you know, things like that. So again, if you have a good editor, she'll tell you that, be like, this does not work, like, please go shoot something else. And luckily Zane was available, and for the pickups it was just Zane and me and the sound girl, so there was no other crew. So I did my own makeup, I did my own hair, you know, I cooked the food again and things like that. Yeah, so then I decided the poster should be me, should be the rice, should be the kitchen. So we literally stood there, like, and Zane had her camera, and I was like this, you know, and I had like some where like my phone was here and like messing around and pulling faces, and then I went with the one you see because it's not a straight up comedy. She shouldn't be pulling a face, you know. So I just wanted it to be a girl is somewhat distressed, but you can't really tell, like, what is this film? You know, that was the point of the poster, and that's how it came about. So I found this amazing Japanese-American designer, graphic designer, and told her the premise. Again, like, straight up, I'm broke, don't expect a lot of money, but I just need, like, I don't know fonts, I don't know, but this is the photo that we're gonna use. And she's like, oh, okay, you know, so she did a little deep dive of fonts and was like, how about this font? How about this color? And that was that. And then the poster happened, and she gave me all the different dimensions. So then put it up on Amazon, ran into several roadblocks because Amazon are very, shall we say, conservative when it comes to sex, apparently. So I submitted my film, and it actually met all the requirements of the festival they announced. They were like 18 plus or under, you know, can't have like severe violence or severe like extreme sexual content or whatever. And to me, the sexual content is not extreme, you know, there's no boobs, there's no like, yeah. Anyway, it got flagged. And so I had to email Amazon a few times, and you can't really reach a human because Amazon is this mammoth thing. Like, I don't know, I might have been talking to like customer service in some other country, I don't know. So I was stressed for a while because it got flagged, and then the thing wouldn't respond, and then blah, 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 blah. So there are many, many emails sent back and forth between Amazon customer service and the organizers of the festival. I had to justify how my film was not porn, you know? And then eventually they okayed it. And then I think I went in to change the synopsis or something, and I didn't know that when you do that, the whole thing goes through an approval process again, so it got flagged again. So it's a whole thing. So like the lesson I learned is like, keep at it, you know, like just don't be discouraged by the BS like bureaucracy. It's almost like just be prepared for it and then push through it. Because I think a lot of people get frustrated and they stop editing, or they get frustrated and they're like, oh, screw the poster, you know, or whatever. But do it, just do it, you know? And that's how it ended up on Amazon in the end.
Well, that is
long answer.
That's amazing. We love those long answers here on Inside Lands. Let's see. I don't want to go too far over, but last question. Do you have any anything coming down the pipe?
I wish I could be like, yes, you know. No, no, that's not true. So I wrote a pilot based on this short film, because the whole goal with the short film, again, the short film was intentionally made as a proof of concept. So my whole thinking was, I want to be like, you know, Issa Rae with Insecure. I want to be like Phoebe Waller-Bridge with Fleabag. Like, that's what I want, right? How do you get there? And then you start like charting the path. So for me, I was like, oh, well, Issa Rae did this. She did a series, and then Fleabag did the one woman show. So basically both people had a proof of concept, you know? And I was like, well, okay, I can't do a theater show. Like, it doesn't really travel. I don't have a YouTube following. Like, maybe I'll just do like a 18-minute short film, you know? So that really is where it came from. Like, I want a TV series. Like, the ultimate goal is that. Let's start with step one, which is prove to the world that I deserve a TV series, and actually prove to myself, you know, because I hadn't ever been a lead. So just because I want it doesn't mean I'm good enough to be a lead, you know? So wrote the part for me to prove to me that I, you know, deserve that. So I have written a pilot based on the short film now, and the short led to literary representation, which is, you know, like, so I'm represented as a writer and director, and so they're helping me try to get the pilot sold or something. Unfortunately, it's extremely hard now because of COVID. So I am developing a little, and you're hearing it here first, I'm developing a little cooking show as Ali. So it will be a cooking show hosted by Ali Chia, not Sam.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's a little tiny web series that I'm directing. So look, episode 1, Come Rice. I love that.
Let's go.
Secret ingredient, hot boyfriend. I don't know.
Lots of protein.
Lots of extra protein. But yeah, and again, that is because circumstances now mean you can't shoot a big thing even if you wanted to. When the lockdown happened, everyone's Instagram feed became exactly like mine, meaning it was them filming themselves cooking, you know? And a lot of people had always said, like, you should do a cooking show. And I was kind of like, oh, now would be the perfect time for a cooking show, because we're all stuck at home and we're all actually cooking and need to learn how to cook. And I like to call myself a professional poor person. Like, I'm really good at being cheap. So I was like, I should do a cooking show about how to cook really well when you're poor, you know, because that is real life. That is like, I started cooking because of that, because I was hungry.
Yeah. We do love that ghetto gourmet in this household, for sure.
Yeah, so it came from that, and then I was thinking like, oh, but I still want to build the Ali story. Like, so how about we combine the two, and it's a cooking show by her, and we learn about her backstory through it. So that is the thing in the pipeline, I guess. We're in very early days with that. I don't know how I'm going to shoot it, but I will make it happen. I'll figure it out.
You've done it already. You've done it once. You could do it twice. Wow. I just want to thank you on behalf of everybody here. Everybody's been so enthusiastic, exuberant in the chat there. I have been inspired by not just your movie, but also by you and your spirit. I think that the thing that I took away from this is that you're such a good and genuine cheerleader for yourself. And I mean, like, I think that's so important in our lives,
Mm,
especially if you're not the type of person that has a very large or strong support system. If you are not your own cheerleader from the bottom of your heart, it's very hard to succeed. That's how I feel. You know
it's
what I mean?
true. I mean, I haven't always been this way. Like, it's something that I grew to learn, that you really have to, because it's the truth, you have to believe that you are unique because you are. Like, it's not even a lie, it's not a delusion. Like, you are actually unique. And there are life experiences you've had that are absolutely specific to you that nobody else knows. And you shouldn't assume that they should know, like, and part of what I think made me realize I needed to put myself out there is because, like, I'm pretty friendly, I'm pretty smiley, and I remember, like, I would meet some people, and someone said to me once, like, "Oh, you're all sweetness and light, aren't you?" And I was kind of like, "No, I'm not." Like, that's one part of me, but there's a lot of other stuff that I am. And I think we're all like that. There are many, many faces we wear for different people. So yeah, so it's like, you know what? Like, of course he assumes that of me, because the only thing people have seen is my sweetness and light. So let me show you, like, the other sides,
Yeah,
you
you don't
know?
want to see me when I drop some rice.
I'll show you what happens when I cook. Yeah. So no, I firmly believe that all of us should absolutely tap into precisely who we are. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit like some people need therapy for it. Like, for me, the 3 years in acting school was that therapy, confronting yourself and accepting yourself and then using it for art. Like, how lucky are we, right? That we get to do that.
Yeah,
And if you
100%.
if you have skills, it's your responsibility, and a big driving force for me too was the thought of, like, here's this story I want to tell, and here's the story I feel very equipped to tell. If I'm too scared to do it, some other mediocre Malaysian girl is going to do it. I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be so pissed when that comes out, and I'll be like, I'm so much better than her, Yeah, so a little bit of that desire to be like, let me do it before it's too late. And also, we can all die tomorrow. Like, it's just, life is so short. Like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, I hella feel that. You should hear me listening to the voice. Like, seriously. Um, but once again, I wanna thank you from the bottom of my heart. This has been a pleasure and a joy just to talk to you about whatever. Your movie was cool. You were even cooler, and I, th- I'm glad you came in. I'm glad we could all watch it, even twice. Like, it was better the second time, and I'm not just gassing you up.
I'm
But
glad
yeah.
it wasn't choppy throughout, because I was like, my God, that sex scene's going to be horrible choppy.
Yeah, that doesn't exactly set the mood.
Yeah, but thank you so much for having me on, and for thank you, Wiz and Kim, for finding my film on Amazon. I mean, that to me, when you said, like, oh, the poster is what caught your eye, I'm like, yes, the poster worked. I so appreciate that. It means so much when something you make resonates with people. And yeah, I hope you guys make a bunch of short films and we keep having screenings and I get to watch and ask a bunch of questions. But yeah, I so appreciate it. And if anybody has other questions, I'm on Instagram. I'm at Samantha Tan Official, or Sam Tan's Kitchen, which is the food one, or email me or whatever. Like, yeah, always down to talk creativity and art.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for being inspirational, and thank you for coming on and spending your time with us. All right, guys. Well, that's it. If you guys do have any other questions, yeah, feel free to ask her on Instagram at Samantha Tan Official. You can send questions through us or anything, blah, blah, blah. Please make connections, be dope people. We love you.
Thank
And
you.
good night.
Good night. Thank you, guys.